The Woman Who Never Spoke at Night, a love mystery story set in the 1950s. People in Willow Ridge still whisper about the woman who lived in the corner house on Hawthorne Street, the woman who never spoke after sunset. Her name was Margaret Hale, a quiet piano teacher with silver eyes and a calm smile. On the surface, she lived an ordinary life, but everyone in town felt something strange about her, especially at night. Margaret had one rule: no guests after dark, no conversations after dark, no music after dark. And for 10 years, no one questioned it, until Thomas Reed arrived in town. Thomas was a war photographer, a man who had seen too many things and carried too many ghosts. He came to Willow Ridge searching for peace, but found Margaret instead. The first time he saw her, she was locking her front door precisely at 6 p.m. as the sun dipped behind the hill. Her movements were sharp, almost rehearsed, as if she were racing against something unseen. "Good evening," he said. She smiled politely, but said nothing. The next morning, she apologized. "I don't speak after sunset," she said. "It's just a habit." But Thomas sensed it wasn't a habit. It was fear. The mystery of the locked room. Weeks passed. Thomas and Margaret grew closer. She let him walk her home after her evening classes, but always stopped at the gate. "Good night here," she'd say, never letting him take another step. One rainy afternoon, he visited her house to return a book. She wasn't home. For the first time, he stepped inside, only a few inches. That was when he heard it. A soft piano melody played by invisible hands. The keys moved by themselves. The air vibrated with notes that didn't belong to any living musician. Thomas stumbled back, heart pounding. The music stopped immediately. Then the room fell silent. Too silent. When Margaret returned, drenched from the rain, she froze at the doorway. "You heard it," she whispered. Thomas nodded. She stepped closer, her voice trembling for the first time. "Thomas, the piano doesn't play for me. It plays for him." "Him?" Thomas asked. Margaret took a deep breath. "My fiancé, Edward. He died in this house the night before our wedding." Thunder cracked outside. "And every night since then," she said, "he comes back to finish the song he played the last time he kissed me." Love beyond the grave. Thomas didn't believe in ghosts, but the truth stood right in front of him. Margaret told him everything. Edward had composed a lullaby for her. He played it for her each evening before they slept. On the night of his death, he didn't finish the final note. And since then, he kept returning. Not with anger, not with violence, but with longing. "He loved me too strongly to leave," she whispered. Thomas felt a strange ache in his chest, jealousy mixed with sorrow. He realized he had fallen for Margaret, deeply and painfully, but how could he compete with a love that refused to die? That night, he stood outside her house. At 10:47 p.m., the piano began again, slow, haunting, and tragic. Then something new happened. Margaret's voice echoed from inside. She was singing. She had never sung before, not once. Her voice rose with the melody as if she were embracing the ghostly presence filling the room. Thomas, trembling, pushed open the door. Inside, Margaret stood by the piano, tears flowing. The keys moved beside her, guided by unseen hands. Edward's lullaby swelled, beautiful, heartbreaking. And then, the final note played, a single, soft, perfect note. The room fell still. Margaret collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "It's over," she whispered. "He's free." She looked up at Thomas with eyes full of exhausted relief. "He stayed because he didn't want to leave me unfinished. Now he can rest." A new beginning. From that night on, the piano fell silent. Margaret no longer locked her door at sunset. She spoke freely, laughed more, and looked at Thomas as if seeing him for the first time. Edward's final gift was letting her go. One evening, months later, Thomas walked her home. For the first time, she invited him inside. The house was warm, peaceful. No trembling keys, no echoes of the past. "Thomas," she whispered, "I think I'm ready to love again." He took her hand gently. "The night doesn't scare you anymore?" She smiled. "No, the night is just the night now." The piano remained silent, but in the quiet, something new began to play. A second chance at love.